The house stood at the end of Hollow Creek Road. It was a foreboding presence, shrouded in overgrown ivy and shadowed by ancient oaks. Locals whispered tales of its troubled past, of tragedy and unrest. But for Emma, it was simply home. The old house called to her, its secrets whispering promises of inspiration. Emma, an artist seeking solace and a muse, found herself drawn to the house on Hollow Creek. Its dilapidated grandeur held a strange allure, a silent invitation she couldn't ignore. The air hung heavy with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, a scent that spoke of forgotten things. The house was a mystery waiting to be unraveled, a story begging to be told. Emma scoffed at the local tales. Ghosts and hauntings held no power over her. She was a woman of logic, of reason. Her art was her escape, her way of making sense of the world. The house, with its creaking floorboards and shadowy corners, became her canvas. She saw beauty in its decay, potential in its silence. Sunlight filtering through dusty windows, painted patterns on the worn wooden floors. Each room held a story waiting to be captured on canvas. Emma lost herself in her work, the silence of the house a comfort rather than a concern. She dismissed the strange noises as the settling of an old house, the whispers of the wind as it snaked through the eaves. The peace didn't last. The house began to reveal itself slowly, insidiously. Emma would catch glimpses of shadows moving at the edge of her vision. Footsteps echoed in the hallway long after she'd convinced herself she was alone. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. They seemed to come from the walls themselves, whispering her name, beckoning her. One night she awoke to the distinct feeling of being watched. A cold spot settled over her bed. Despite the warmth of the summer night, she sat up, her heart pounding, and stared into the darkness. There was nothing there, but the feeling lingered, a prickling unease that clung to her like cobwebs. The attic was a place of shadows and dust, forgotten memories piled high. Emma, drawn by an unknown force, found herself climbing the creaking stairs. The air grew heavy, thick with the weight of unseen eyes. A musty, antique scent permeated the air, hinting at things long forgotten. And then she saw it. An ornate mirror, its silver, tarnished and frame coated in dust, stood against the far wall. It was as if it was waiting for her. As she drew closer, the whispers intensified, swirling around her like a vortex. They spoke of pain, of longing, of a desperate plea for release. Emma stared into the mirror, her breath catching in her throat. The reflection staring back at her wasn't her own. Trapped within the depths of the glass were faces, their expressions filled with a haunting sorrow. They reached out, their spectral fingers brushing against the surface, their silent cries echoing in her mind. The faces belonged to men and women, young and old, their eyes pleading for her help. Their whispers, once faint, now resonated with urgency, their voices a chorus of despair. Emma stumbled back, her hand flying to her mouth to stifle a scream. The house, once a source of inspiration, now felt like a prison, and she was trapped within its walls. Fear threatened to consume her, but Emma was an artist, and within her a spark of defiance ignited. She wouldn't let these souls remain trapped. Their pain resonated within her, fueling a desperate need to help. She would use her art to set them free, to give voice to their silent cries. She raced back to her studio, the faces seared into her memory. Her hands moved with a speed and urgency she had never known. She poured her fear, her empathy, and her growing determination into her work. With each stroke of her brush, she felt a connection to the trapped souls, their energy flowing through her, guiding her hand. Section 7. Breaking the Chains. Night after night, Emma painted, driven by a force she couldn't explain. She captured the faces from the mirror, their expressions shifting from despair to hope with each stroke. The house seemed to sigh around her, the whispers growing louder, urging her on. She was close, she could feel it. When the last brushstroke fell, the house held its breath. The paintings, now dry, pulsed with an energy that crackled in the air. They were more than just images, they were the souls themselves, freed from their confinement within the mirror. Emma, exhausted but triumphant, gathered the paintings and returned to the attic. Section 8. A Symphony of Silence. The attic was eerily silent. The oppressive weight that had cloaked the space had lifted, replaced by an expectant hush. Emma placed the paintings facing the mirror, their eyes meeting their spectral counterparts. The air crackled and a low hum resonated through the room. The mirror, as if unable to contain the energy swirling within it, began to vibrate. Cracks spiderwebbed across its surface, spreading outward with alarming speed. The faces trapped within the glass reached out one last time, their expressions grateful, peaceful, and then with a deafening shatter, the mirror exploded. Section 9. The House Remembers. Silence descended once more, but this time it was a peaceful silence, the silence of redemption. The dust settled, revealing a space cleansed and renewed. The oppressive weight that had haunted the house was gone, replaced by a sense of tranquility. The house on Hollow Creek was finally at peace. Emma stood in the center of the room, surrounded by shards of glass and the remnants of her fear. She could still feel the presence of the souls, but now it was a comforting warmth, a gentle whisper of gratitude that echoed through the empty rooms. The house remembered their pain, but it also remembered their release. Section 10. An Enduring Connection. Life in the house on Hollow Creek settled into a new normal. The oppressive silence had given way to a comforting quiet, punctuated by the gentle creaks and groans of an old house settling. But Emma knew she wasn't alone. She felt the presence of the souls in the warmth of the sunbeams that painted the floorboards, in the rustle of leaves outside her window. Their whispers lingered, no longer filled with sorrow, but with a sense of peace and gratitude. They were a part of the house, a part of her. And as Emma continued to paint, her canvas now a testament to their story, she knew that their connection would endure. A silent symphony played out in the stillness of her heart.